OP Gaming here with another video. Unlike most, this one is a game review of Destiny: The Taken King, and I'm going to be comparing both this to the vanilla and what they have done better to in comparison to other MMORPGs. So I'm going to first start off talking about overall general gameplay. Sorry, tongue twister. Pretty much the game pretty much feels a lot like the same. Not too many different mechanics at all, actually. They have a couple new specials. They've revamped questing, they've revamped strikes, they've revamped a lot of stuff. But there is still some shortcomings to this game that they have not fixed. So I'm going to start off with questing and strikes. I'm sorry, questing and bounties. And the main campaign. So, from vanilla, the campaign was really dull and very vague, no story. You had to go online to Bungie.com or Bungie.net to find out what the hell's going on. The only sort of story mode was when you went to the reef to go get to the Black Garden, and that went nowhere. Very little story mode, there's nothing there. That compared to the story mode of the Taken King, by far a million times better, story-wise. In my opinion, the shortcoming of the Taken King's campaign was it's very short and you can finish in about 3 hours. If you started at noon, you'd probably be done by 3:30 or 4, and then you're back to the old grinding strikes, crucible, bounties, gear, raid. You'd be back to the old grind. One thing they have done better, aside from the campaign, in my opinion, I wish it was just a little bit longer, is that they fixed, or I wouldn't say fixed, but they've added the quest element to the game. It used to be strictly bounties. Pick up this bounty, pick up that bounty, and it was just the quest step is cool because it's not like go pick up 100 things or go kill this. It's kind of like do this, this, and that, and then you get to the next step and some rewards, and it's more of a quest type scenario than just getting bounties and getting gear. And the overall setup of the quest is much different. As you can see here, let me scroll over. Is that there's your section for quests, and then there's sections for bounties, which is really cool. Good execution from Bungie on this one. Has your reward, reputations, bounties, and your quests all in one big tab. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is specials. Yeah, in my opinion, if I were to rank them 1, 2, and 3, the best one would probably be the Hunter's Night Stalker, just because in the vanilla, the Hunters had no party support classes except Stealthing to Resurrect, which was exceptional at best. Wasn't too good, wasn't too bad, it was just enough, as opposed to Defender and the Sunsinger. So, in my opinion, they rank number 1. Number 2 would probably be, it's a hard tie between the Titan's new one, the Hammer, and the Warlock's Zapper. I'm gonna call it the Sith Zap. And anyways, just because the Titans is kind of more overall better, I'm gonna give them the second place. It works better in PvP, and it works better against bosses, and it works better against PvE. Sorry. The only advantage of the Warlock's one is it generates a lot of orbs of light, and it decimates in PvP. But when it comes to bosses, you can't get close enough to the boss to do damage from it. So that's why that one's gonna fall to third place. That's just my opinion. They all have their pros and cons. From the Titans aspect of it, I think Hammer is slightly better than Striker, but it's nothing to be like, oh my god, about. A lot of the new classes aren't amazing, except the Hunter's one, because when you use it, it finds all the surrounding units together, and you can do localized damages to all of them. So if you shoot one, damage is spread, which is kind of useful in party support, which is nice to have on the Hunter because they didn't have it. And that's where I kind of rank the specials at. Another thing I want to kind of quickly talk about is the new Taken enemy. They're kind of annoying. I mean, they all have enemies and enemies, but in my opinion, they could have. I don't want to say done better. They could have invented another enemy instead of just reusing the same models and putting some ghostly thing on them. I wish they kind of invented a completely new race, or took a spin off of the Hive, not just everything, or have a new one and what they have currently. Wish they had a little bit more variety, but that's just me. Another thing that I thought they have executed well in this game was kind of the combat. It seems more fluid, and they could have actually changed nothing. It could be just a placebo effect, but just the overall gaming experience is much better and more dynamic. And just they've so far, this expansion has actually been decently well. It's not just, you know, same old, same old. Some other cool things that they have done in this is I think they did a great job of balancing and tying in year 1 to year 2, or vanilla, I guess you could say, to the Taken King. Nothing is irrelevant, which is really nice. I love that. If you were doing some quests that they have incorporated all the questing, like let's just say a heroic quest you can do from year 1, and it's just as hard, and it's scaled up and remastered to the Taken King. What's kind of cool is they polish all of the strikes, and they all the strikes have been redone some way, shape, or form. They've incorporated the Taken into each strike, which is great. And it's no longer. Sorry, there's no longer. Let's get to the end of the boss, glitch a wall, hide behind something, and down the boss. I mean, the mechanics of the strikes are relatively the same. It's just they're not as tedious and as long and as just awful as the old ones were. I mean, we all can agree all the original launch strikes were abysmal. There's no doubt about that. And one other thing they kind of changed about the strikes, which is I think a really good thing, is they have incorporated after each event slash boss. So let's just say you're doing an event inside the strike, like a mid-boss type shit. It will drop loot. The loot may be random. Well, the loot will be random, but you'll always get a piece of gear coming here, which I think is great, because I hated being the best freaking player in a strike, going to killing everything, getting the most assists, most revives, most kills, most everything, ending the strike and not getting a single piece of gear. Yet the guy who did the worst gets an exotic or legendary. To me, that was just awful. And they have fixed that to an extent. I mean, everything's still RGN, or random number generator. Everything's still random. At the very end in the random, where it starts to kind of do its thing, that might be slightly different. You may not get anything, but the boss, when you down the boss, it will drop something for you, which what I think is an improvement for the better. I think they still need to revise the loot system and everything about it, but it is a step in the correct direction, and having that helps gear progression, because as you go through the levels, it's not so like what they've done is they've incorporated a dynamic gear to light ratio, I guess you can say. It's no longer let's just find gear with the highest amount of light stat. So you could have a piece of gear that has more armor, more intellect, more strength, but less light, and you would put the gear that has less armor, less strength, and more light on just because of the light. So now they've made it more dynamic, which is a really good step in the correct direction. Is they take into account all the stats, and that's how they determine some light score. So they have revised the light, and it made it much easier to do so, like gear up. And I mean, you're still not going to be able to really customize your character like they promised. You're going to go with the best piece of gear. You're not going to go like each Titan's going to look the exact same. There's not going to be really any difference between one Titan to another, just because there's only so much gear in the game. It all looks the same. There's no different really look models of the gear. All the guns look the same. All the gear looks the same. It just has different stats, different names. So, in my opinion, they do need to kind of work on that a little bit. So what I also noticed is leveling up takes longer, but is more fun. You have to do more to get gear. It's not like, oh hey, I got one random legendary. Now I'm level, 39, or if we were to compare this to the old game, level 30 or 28. And prior to that, you were 22 just because you got one piece of gear. Now each piece of gear only increments you up little by little by little, and the gear, from what I've noticed, I could be completely wrong on this, but it seems like it kind of scales to what light you are, which I think is a great improvement over the light, how light works and how everything's kind of dynamic and perfect. They have incorporated light near perfect in this, in my opinion. Compared to the old system, a million times better. This, compared to other games, what I do like, I mentioned a little bit earlier, is they incorporate other stuff into the game. So when you're done with, we are in the Taken King, all the other missions you would think is relevant, like in World of Warcraft, and they're not, because they incorporate it and actually put twists on those missions to incorporate it into the Taken King. So each mission is slightly different, and the wolves are still in there. It's just really cool in how they did that, and in my opinion, they have done a good job on the Taken King. So if you like what you see, like what you hear, smash the subscribe button, and I'm going to be trying to do at least one review per week, starting on Mondays. Every Monday there'll be a new review of a new video game. Smash that subscribe button if you want to stay tuned, if you like what you saw, and I'm trying, so share me and we'll see what happens. So anyways, enjoyed it. I give this a 4.5 star out of 5 compared to the last one. Thank you.